Hello, Adrian from Jaskiran Astrology here to bring you my insights about this new moon that starts tomorrow at 7:45 p.m. on the East Coast. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks since the full moon. Um, and yeah, wait till you see this chart. I think it's very inspiring and interesting, and I have some insight as to what's happening. So I'll go ahead and bring that chart up for us. There. I hope everybody can see this chart. So like I said, 7:45 p.m. on the East Coast. This is for tomorrow evening. It's been my experience that I start feeling these energies 4 to 5 days before the actual moon comes in, which I've noticed writing these reports, because if I start too early, then I'm just not getting the hits and it's a struggle for me. But if I wait, the energies literally are playing out in my life. So this is what I see. First of all, if you look at all the planets that are in Pisces right now, the sun and the moon are conjunct in Pisces. Saturn is still in Pisces. Mercury is working its way through, conjuncting the North Node. And the North Node and Venus are, and Uranus are conjunct and still exerting energy upon each other. And then these are the Pisces planets. And then still, we have Venus and Chiron in part of this. I'm just calling it the parade. And basically, what I see is this energy of endings. Pisces is the energy. Okay, Pisces, Neptune, 12th house energy is all about the energy of dissolving. It's about um, the energy that has been used to support a reality is dissolving. And you've heard the saying scientifically that energy can't be created or destroyed, it can only change forms. Well, this is to me what this means. It's like everything is energy, and energy has many forms, and we've got emotional energy and psychic energy and physical energy and all of the various forms. Well, all of these planets in Pisces are suggesting that the energy is dissolving and into this. I call it the storehouse of energy. People call it different things: God, the oneness, the universe, um, all the different energies that we can call this spiritual energy. And I feel like when we see planets moving into this energy, we're experiencing the dissolving. Now, that dissolving gets very intense with Neptune and Pisces, because Neptune is in its own sign. So I feel like with Neptune and Pisces, it's like a cleansing. I almost visualize like a car wash, a dirty car that gets put on the tracks and it's drawn in and it gets cleaned and then it comes out new on the other side. This is how I envision what Neptune in Pisces does. It really dissolves all the energies that are no longer serving our evolution as humanity, because it is an outer planet, and um, is taking. So all of these planets are getting ready to move their way through, except the North Node, which has already moved its way through. Also, I take the energy of Pisces and the energy of Neptune as this energy, like in the interim between its coming in and dissolving. In that space of dissolveness, we are really aligned with spirit. We're aligned with the higher self, the higher energies. And I think that for some people, many of us, that these things that happen, where maybe things are happening through dream time, because Pisces can definitely speak to us. The spirit speaks to us through our dreams. And I think that the really unusual circumstances that you would see in dream time, it seems very far out. This is the flowing energy of Pisces, where it doesn't have any boundaries yet. It hasn't actually manifested and crystallized itself into any form of reality. And so Neptune, the South Node passing through Neptune a few weeks ago, is this energy where we're really just coming in. Our future self is aligning with spirit. And I don't know if you've heard, I've heard it for a long time, and it's just until recently that I'm starting to really understand that this energy of awakening and spiritualizing is literally coming out of the view of the physical world and really aligning with spirit. And it's they say you can't get rid of the ego. It's to align the ego with spirit. And I think that that's what this energy of North Node, this is the future of humanity. We are ending a cycle where our construct, which has been for thousands of years. We've been in this paradigm where we are our worlds and our reality is really defined through energies that are outside of us. And so that is dissolving. Now, what I noticed about this interesting stellium is that Mercury and Saturn are sitting really together. It's an interesting conjunction in itself. Its new phase, Mercury is to Saturn, which is saying, so Mercury is the energy of the consciousness. It's how we perceive the reality. Now, Mercury is going through the car wash. We are dissolving our perceptions of reality. It's almost like it's hard to believe what's even happening in the world right now. What we've discerned as what the reality is dissolving, and it's going to come through. It's going to cross the North Node into Pisces and really into Neptune rather, and really just be dissolved. And then it's going into Venus, into Aries, where we will begin this new perception. So I really focused a lot on my moon report about this idea of perception, because perception is, the sign of Gemini is these two lines capped, right? And Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury is the perceptive mechanism, but there are two sides to the perception. There is the physical world, and then there's the internal world. Mercury, the god Mercury, is the god that can travel between the realms. And when we keep our consciousness focused in this external realm, literally, we're only seeing half the picture. There's an internal realm, and this internal realm comes through us on the inside through intuition. This is our energy of spirit talking to us. So Jupiter has been in Gemini since last May, the end of May last year. And really what it's doing is it's expanding our consciousness. We have been led through the media, through our conditioning, through, generations of conditioning to be focused on the external world. And we also are told what the external world focuses on. And the internal world, they say from the internal world that, these things aren't real because they can't be measured. I don't really believe that to be the truth. I think what's coming from the inside is equally as valid as the outside. And so through this parade of planets, through Pisces, we are dissolving our alignment with it when we're talking about the sun and the moon. It's in a new cycle because it's a brand new connection here in Pisces, literally lining our self-actualization and our inner perception of self with spirit, with the greater sense of what we are. I think that part of what's happening with this Saturn is like the emotional protection that we have. And we are learning to gain a sense of emotional resiliency while Saturn's been through Pisces. You see, we can't really allow the outer world or what's external to us to really control and keep us safe. It's really an internal process. And it generally happens through having many experiences. The more experience you have, the more resilient you become. And this is over time. Saturn is the ruler of time. And so it's about aligning our emotional resilience with something that is beyond ourselves. And this is all sort of happening slowly. Saturn is in Pisces. The slower that it happens, the more time that it takes to happen, the more real it becomes. And so you may be having experiences of dreams and experiences in the outer world where you're noticing things that are being said on the outside that aren't resonating with you. What I say is turn inward, because that's the other side. Our energies, our thought processes are also coming from what comes from inside through the heart. And if you watched me last moon cycle, I was calling my last moon cycle about coming from the heart, that we really have to find balance between the heart and the mind. Mind shouldn't be guiding us. It's the entity that helps us calculate, but really we should be led through the heart. This is what is telling us the direction to go. And this is the internal guidance system, is what I like to call it, through the heart. And so let's go back to Pluto. Pluto is the underlying journey of the soul and of the soul of humanity. And as it's moved into Aquarius, what's happening is we're breaking apart this hold that we've had on the external reality. Remember, Pluto went through Capricorn, really breaking apart that. And now we're in this place of liberation, freeing ourselves from it. And the way to free ourselves from these external ideas is to really focus inward. The opposition point, or the polarity point of Aquarius is Leo. Leo is about coming from the heart. Leo rules the heart. Leo is how we self-actualize. It's really our internal sun telling us the direction, how we feel we want to go. It's the energy of love. And interestingly enough, from our heart and this energy of love is where spirit speaks to us. The energy of spirit translated into human language is the language of compassion, the language of forgiveness, the language of acceptance. These are the things, instead of just pushing everything away. So let's talk about this opposition, the big opposition on these planets. Here we have the South Node. South Node represents the past identity. And the way I've been kind of describing it is that Pisces is the wholeness, the oneness, the storehouse of where all things come from and all things return. It's the Godhead, is what I like to call it. And Virgo, its opposing energy is when you separate out all of the little pieces so that we can understand what they are. I'm not saying that anything that we've gone through as humanity has been bad, negative. It's all purposeful. It's all purposeful so that we can have an understanding, and not an understanding because somebody's told us, but because we've actually experienced it. And humanity has been experiencing the reality of separation for a very long time. When we have an opposition, it's like this energy of trying to find balance between, it's like a seesaw. We're trying to find balance. And you can see in this seesaw, we're heavily weighted on spirit, where we have been heavily weighted on, this energy of interpreting reality we'll use that as the Virgo energy, interpreting reality as the reality. And like I was saying before, Mercury only gives us part of the reality. There's another part. There's the whole Piscean part. There's the unseen part that we have to take into consideration. And our society, the way we've been living on the planet for a very long time has not considered that purposefully so that we can understand the inner workings. So this is where we've coming from. This is the past identity of separation, but we're coming into oneness. It's not to say that discernment and separating things out so that we can understand them are not positive. All things are being necessary. And so what it is saying is that now we have to integrate the other side. So what we have is our self-actualization and the day-to-day expression of that as the new moon in Pisces, really aligned with spirit, coming into spirit and really coming into an awareness within inside of ourselves and really actioning it out. It's a new cycle of this. And Saturn is helping us to build this internal structure that is allowing us to remain resilient and strong within ourselves. Because as our outer world dissolves, people are getting emotionally riled. Um, you know, all of these things can happen. We really need to have an inner, it's like our inner light, our candle needs to not flicker. We have to have a strong exterior to keep an even balance, because it's in this place of even balance that we can act from a place of we can respond instead of reacting. Venus. Let's talk about Venus. Venus's move is in Aries, where we are learning this new set of values. We're exploring how do we value things. Now, Uranus has been breaking apart an external value structure, the values that have been superimposed upon us, how much money we have, are we wearing the right clothes, are we wearing white in springtime, do we have the right colors on our fingernails, and all of these things that the external world has been showing us that we need to value. And as the energy is moving forward, that energy is dissolving. We're not so concerned with those things at this time. Really, we're concerned with a different form of survival. And as I've been speaking about before, in the past and in my moon report of this moon cycle, our values are shifting. And most importantly, how we value ourselves is shifting. And so also linked to the South Node in Virgo, which has us, because of this discernment of separation, it places everything into a hierarchy. And generally, we find if we don't have the most money, we don't have, the big house and all of these things, that somehow we're less than, just on a psychological level. But this is the energy that we're leaving from. And Uranus and Taurus is breaking that apart. And Aries, interestingly enough, Venus has moved into Aries, and it's coming through and it's saying we need to look at what is valued differently. We need to value ourselves differently. We need to get our own needs met, figure out how to get our needs met, because we're leaving behind a past way of doing that. Perhaps we've gotten our needs met outside of ourselves, through whatever. And there's all kinds of ways to meet the needs outside of ourselves, but we're in this new cycle of trying to figure out how to meet our needs inwardly. And so in a self-sufficient kind of way, really. Venus is getting ready to go retrograde. Now, Mars has just recently stationed direct in the last few days, and then We'll have a couple of days and then Venus is going to go retrograde. And we're going to get an acceleration of this internal value. Venus will go all the way back into Pisces. I'm sorry, I didn't look ahead to see how far back. But I do believe it's going to be for a couple of weeks that it'll be retrograde. So it'll go pretty far back because Venus moves quickly. Not all the way to the beginning of Pisces by any means, but back in so that we can get a redo, a re-look, a dissolving a little more of the conditioning before we turn around and go forward and on with our future. So before I close out, I really want to talk about this energy that Jupiter in Gemini is. It's just recently come to me, and I've been talking about it a little bit over the year about how our guidance system is two ways. We have the guidance system that takes in what's happening on the external world. This would be the Mercury function, but the opposite of that is the Jupiter function or Sagittarius. This is where there's this internal knowing and it comes from beyond. You know, Sagittarius is the arrow that points outward and to the right. And it's this energy that says that there's more to know that cannot be taken in through the outer world. It actually comes from the inner world. And I think what Jupiter in Gemini is asking us to do is expand our consciousness. No, don't just take in what is happening on the outside world as what the reality is. There's another reality that's happening, and we're in the process of stepping into it, but that hasn't happened yet. When these planets go through Aries, we'll be seeing this new reality come into form. Right now, Pisces is the formless. We're sitting in sort of a holding pattern and really mingling with the source energy. But it's really important, I think, to understand that everything that we see and hear in the outer world is not necessarily the truth. There is this energy of exterior control that is losing power, but it's almost like it's in the death throes of, oh, this is the end of this cycle. We're going to glean whatever we can out of it. And they're just throwing up all kinds of energy. And if we allow it to rock our boat, we will have a difficult time moving forward. So I'm not saying don't pay attention to the outer world. Pay attention to the outer world, but also pay attention to what is being spoken from within inside. Because Pluto is in Aquarius. We are all breaking free and becoming these individualized self, where we are literally being spoken to from the inside through source and able to express these beings that have been suppressed for a long time into this physical world. And I feel like this is part of the awakening that's happening. So yeah, I don't know that I have anything more to say. Well, maybe just a little bit. I can talk a little bit about Mars and Cancer. So, you know, Mars has been retrograde in Cancer, and it has been really turning the fire, the action energy inward. We're really learning how we feel. We're paying attention to these emotional eruptions, how we feel, and acting on those, because what's happening in our inner world is telling us a lot about the outer world. And now that that Mars is moving direct, we're taking what we learned and moving it forward. Mars still being in Cancer, will be in Cancer for some more time before it moves to Leo, where we're really going to be actioning from the heart. But we've had to go back and really anchor into ourselves this connection with our internal world. So new moon in Pisces is dissolving this old way we have self-actualized and aligning ourselves more with spirit. We're connecting with spirit through ourselves, through the internal world, through the North Node in Pisces, through learning our sense of value in Aries, and Uranus breaking apart the old values at the same time. So it's all, the universe is all working together and helping us all to evolve. And really all we have to do is follow the work. As I've started to understand is you don't have to know anything about astrology. Knowing about astrology can help you, but you don't have to. You're following the journey anyway. The energy is moving us toward this awakening. I find that the astrology can just help us. If you know you're supposed to let go of the old, then you have a better ability to do so consciously. And to me, that's the value and the benefit of the astrology. So the Piscean archetype, again, is about letting go of the old, because all these planets are moving through, and they're dissolving the old, and they'll come out onto the other side anew, and we will begin this new cycle. So yeah, this is the energy that I am seeing, understanding, and I hope that I have been clear in my explanation. Please do check out my Substack account, Jess Karen Astrology. I will try to link it below. And yeah, it's a more in-depth, because when I write, I can tend to think better and I can adjust. Speaking out like this, I'm just sort of flying at off the top of my head about what it is that I see, and working on getting better at it. But do check out my Substack account. It also, in there, I'll have a nice piece that aligns pretty much what I've said here, and then I go through all the alignments and all the aspects to help show you how I determine what how I come up with these ideas. So I thank you all for listening, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Happy new moon in Pisces.